through the many variations of this bit of land in Northamptonshire, the 5.8-kilometre Silverstone circuit has seen some of the most epic moments in F1 history and played host to some of the most extraordinary races since the championship's inception 70 years ago. This former airbase plays host today to round number 3 of the 6th season of the Formula PlayStation League. The 5.8-kilometre circuit welcomes us here on a Tuesday night, which is, in the UK at least, freezing cold where I am at the moment. However, it has been an extraordinary start to the Formula PlayStation League. It certainly has lit up the league racing action over the last few weeks. Can Decinio or TRT James build on their respective victories so far in the opening 2 rounds, or will we have a third winner from the third race of Season 6? My name's Rob Kershaw. I'm taking you through the next hour and a half or so of action in this short qualifying session, followed by a 50% Grand Prix, as usual, to see who will be on the top step of the podium. Delighted to say that TRT James now has a full-time seat in the Formula PlayStation League 1, last time up for Racing Point in Singapore, and has been awarded the drive for the rest of this season. Congratulations to him, and certainly already, you could say, a potential championship contender in what was a fantastic performance last time. 18 drivers with us here today, traversing over the course of the Grand Prix. Will be 153 kilometres of racing, and a 1 hour 6 minute drive roughly from Birmingham, the nearest major city, to Silverstone. And a lot of driving, lots of laps ahead of our drivers here. First of all, it's the battle for pole, then the battle for the race win. Here's Cobalt in the Williams. Hasn't really had of success thus far in the opening 2 rounds of the season. Made the move from Renault to Williams from Season 5 in 6. And 1 DNF and 1 finish out. 2 races in Italy and Singapore. Which really has been quite surprising, to say the least, for the American driver who performed excellently for Renault last season. Hopefully for him, he can get his name on the board in terms of championship points here this evening. Around turn 1, and has to just hold on to the back end as he traverses turn 2 in towards the braking zone of Village at turn 3. And now the 2 lefts of 4 loop on towards the Wellington Straight, where he flips open the DRS rear wing and it makes his way down towards Brooklands Corner at turn 6. Take that late apex, nicely done, in towards turn 7 of Luffield, and then in towards Woodcut, which used to be, of course, the final corner of the circuit, down the old home straight in towards Copse, which is now turn 9, formerly turn 1. Oh, really has to catch the back ender so well to hold on to that one. Almost ended in tears there for Cobalt. Obviously there's a lot of Silverstone, but not all of it will keep you out of the barrier, depending on the size of the incident you have. And he has already invalidated this lap, by the way, as you can see at the bottom right, so has to go around and start the lap again. Not sure as to whether he's the only one at the moment who served the race ban last time in Singapore, is back with us here for round number 3. He thus far has not had this lap invalidated, so we'll come round now towards Stowe. And the DNF last time in Italy for him, in round number 1, was certainly not a reflection of the results that he can achieve and did achieve last year in the Williams car. Around the final corner comes Shea. The first lap time of the session is a 1:54.7 to kick us off. Vapor Nuth has had his lap invalidated and just moves out of the way for the Red Bull to go past him. Lord Lamb 1:39.4, so certainly not the strongest effort from him. 1:26.2 for Brown to go second place in the Alpha Tauri. There is Elliott down towards Stowe for him. got his first points finish in Singapore. Last time it was unable to achieve that in Monza, finishing outside of the points, but he has finished both races so far, has seen the checkered flag. Bazooka Joe in the Alfa Romeo goes second fastest, 125.4, and Trench in the McLaren, 125.2. Elian into P4, 125.6 from him. So at the moment, Vaporshay's 124.7 looks just a little bit unbeatable out front, has to be said. Yeah, the first 6 lap times of the session. Oh, well, not really that close, has to be said. There's a couple of 125s in there. Of course, Lord Alarm's 139.4, not representative of his true pace, you would feel. And here is Vapor News, Season 5 champion. And his first race of the season in Singapore. Last time I earned him a podium. Interesting, they actually said that he doesn't feel as though he's going to win the championship this year after missing the opening race. But I think his performance shows, and certainly this crazy start to the season shows that anything is possible. He slows down, backs out of this lap, and try and go again. There's Vapor News' teammate last season, and it's unfortunate. Buttons back as well this season. 2 finishes in the opening 2 races. And he needs a strong finish here. Maybe not stake his claim for the title, but certainly to establish himself as the Mercedes #1 driver following what has been a top-tier start for Decisio as well. The win in Monza, and then the 10th place finish in Singapore for him last time. But he has 4 points in both the opening 2 races. Much less can be said for Buttons back, who goes P3, 125.3 from him. And still, as you can see, quite a long way off the pole position, or the provisional pole position lap time, if I can get my words out, set by Vaporshay. There's Vapor King. Also had a particularly great time of it to open the season in the Haas car. Switched from Alfa for this season. And 1 F and 1 finish outside the points to show his efforts in the early going. TDB says he's resetting his router, so that's why he's just left the session, and hopefully he'll be coming back when he's got just under 11 minutes left to get back in. And time. TDB the Renault really missing any race here with the this championship is going could quite cost. He took in Singapore. Sadly for him, was unable to convert that into a victory or a podium for that matter. And as far as he's concerned, some points here in Silverstone. Vapor King, 125.1 to go quickest in the Haas. There is Sam coming through the loop out of turn 5. Decisio, who won the first race, is still in the pits in the Mercedes. Cobalt back in the pits as well after having his lap time invalidated last time. Fashion goes P9, 130.7 from the Renault driver. Reese is on an outlap. And Trixky currently out there as well in the Red Bull. There he is, round the final corner. The former McLaren driver goes P6, 125.3. Displaces Bazooka Joe, who is on an outlap now at the moment. In the Alfa Romeo, whose sister car is just coming through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel now. And down the hanger straight in towards Stowe Corner. At the end of the DRS straight. A little bit of braking. Flick. And now down the hill in towards the Vale chicane, which takes him through towards the flat out final corner of Club, which despite its flat out nature is actually still very difficult to get right, as across the line. And P8, 125.4 for Sam. And there is Reese on his outlap. So we've had one Williams invalidator lap. What about the other one? Reese around the final corner. Qualified second in Singapore. did the Williams driver for this year, moved from Ferrari for season 6. And got himself in the points. Unfortunately, no more than that. Was unable to score a podium or a race win, with taking what was in Grand Prix victory in the wet conditions. As round turn 7 comes Reese as the car dips away from the corner and then back in again, and then he just catches a bit of gravel as he exits 7 going. TDB's back, so he's managed to reset the router and get himself back into the session with just under 8 minutes to spare. So hopefully we'll be seeing him out on track and setting a lap pretty soon, but he's left the session just as quickly as he joined, and hopefully he'll be able to set something in this qualifying session as Reese cuts across Beckett's, and will have to go around again to try and set another lap. Jack Prentice in the AlphaTauri on a lap as well at the moment, in towards the loop of turns 4 and 5 he comes. He just manages to negotiate the little traction zone that exists out of turn 4 in towards Brooklands as he catches the late apex now through turn 7. Hugs the apex just a little bit more than others have done so far. Gets a good amount of curb as well. And doesn't do what Reese did and manages to keep that car nicely on the circuit. Towards Cops he goes. James, by the way, 1:24.5 to go, quickest in the session so far from the racing point driver. So he's win in Singapore. Is he about to take pole position here in Silverstone, I should say. Where we were, Silverstone for round number 3. Well, Jack Prentice isn't about to do that just yet because he's had his lap time invalidated. Cobalt's gone back out in the Williams. So one Williams has had his lap invalidated, the other one's gone off the track and then had his lap invalidated. And is Cobalt gonna fly the flag for Williams here and get himself on the board. Desinio, race 1 winner, has gone out on track as well. HM says hi. Hi, Matt. Yeah, used to commentate on Matt in the ORL days. Good to see you. Division 2 driver, I believe, which you can catch on Wednesday nights on the YouTube channel. Don't miss it. Cobalt at P11, 1:25.5. Very, very close to Elian, who is currently just about rounding out the top 10. As Desinio has begun a lap. Jack Prentice is still out there in the AlphaTauri, but that's another one invalidated for him. Desinio then out of turn in towards the flat out 5 as there goes the rear wing opening up and down towards turn 6. How late dare you break into there? Well, that's a very, very good line for so lots of pace taken through 6. Now in towards 7. Again, just hugs that apex. It's a very, very good exit too. Nice and tidy from the senior. Around turn 8. Down the old home straight. In towards Cops. Oh, and just goes ever so slightly wide out of Cops' corner. And has that validated. Very, very fine margins. Track limits wise here. As it was in Portimao just this last weekend in Portugal. Jack Prentice brings his car back into the pits. There's Nuth, Ferrari, and only P8 for him. So back out of a lap earlier on. In fact, back 2 laps earlier in the season. And it's now just as top 10 with his teammate Elian. So, yeah, last season's champion not quite finding that rhythm that he had last year. Last season really was incredible for the Red Bull driver. The stats sort of rolled off the tongue last season, and to the point where I think a lot of you got bored of hearing it, but it doesn't bear saying. 6 wins, 8 podiums, 5 pole positions, and points scored in every single race last season for Nuth on his way to a tremendous, pretty historic championship success in the Formula PlayStation League. That'll be a championship winning season that will go down in the history books of the FPSL. Of that there is no doubt. But here, not quite able to replicate that pace. P9 now for Fashion, so brilliantly in the Renault, up in P4 at the moment for him. Had a bit of flack from his fellow racing drivers for a couple of incidents last season, and indeed in Monza as well, but there's no denying his pace and certainly his commitment to racing. And up in the top 4, which kind of just proves that, really. And he is a driver that will certainly be out to get podiums and potentially the odd race win this season. James has headed back out 3 minutes ago in the session. Thank you very much for joining us on the YouTube channel. If you have any comments, if you have any predictions about the Grand Prix, predictions about the season as well, because what a start to the season we've had with 2 different winners and 2 exceptional races so far. Do let me know. Also make sure to like and subscribe to the FPSL channel. And in towards Stowe Corner comes Fashion. Heads on for the exit and down the hill and into the pits in the Renault. Desinio, Reese, TDV and Jack Prentice yet to set laps the session. I believe we're still waiting for TDB to rejoin, and it's getting to the stage where it's probably a little bit too late actually for him to do that. In towards the final couple of corners comes Reese. His teammate Cobalt, only P12 in the Williams. Around the final corner comes Reese, and it's up to P3, 125.0, just a little bit ahead of Vapor King in the pass. As we still wait for the 3 drivers down towards the bottom set their first lap times of the session. Well, Reese's P3 is certainly not the most inauspicious number, but just the 18 wins outside the front row here in Silverstone in the 56 races that we've had here, but only 17 of those have been from second, with 21 from pole. So 18 wins from outside the front row, so not the worst number to have, not the worst number to work with. More there than there has been from second place since this race's inception. And of course the championship started in 1950 with this very Grand Prix. That looked very different back then to how it did now. But certainly holds the same aura and the same racing passion that we're used to seeing in Silverstone, that we have been used to seeing for many, many years. Brown has retired from the session. There's James in the racing point. Has pole at the moment by a couple of tenths of a second from Vapor Shea, who's also out there in the other racing point. At the minute, it's a Pink Panther lockout. Reese has retired from the session in the Williams. And there is Vapor Shea still here. The 2 racing point cars as James gets a slipstream for the Mercedes. And I believe that was Buttons back that he was getting a toe off there. And Vapor Trench McLaren was quickest. What a brilliant lap from the McLaren driver. And is that going to be pole for him, or will James snatch it back? Yes, he will, with a brilliant 124.2. Now what about Vapor Shea? Had pole at the start of the session. Cobalt goes a brilliant P4, rises above Reese in the Williams and out-qualifies his teammate for the first time this season. Here the line, can't improve, it's only P3, but James, with a brilliant last gasp effort, has taken pole position. Oh, and off the track goes King and straight into the wall, and that's him out of the session too, having just tried to improve on his qualifying lap so far. Something tells me that from the barrier, not quite going to do that. Here comes Vapor Nuth now in the Ferrari. In towards Chapel, only P12. Outside the top 10 is the Season 5 champion. Can he pull a rabbit out of the hat? Can he climb up 11 positions and take pole? Can he get himself into the top 10? Not a question I thought I would be asking this season. Jack Prentice goes P9. Just lost into the top 10. Buttons back, qualifying outside the top 10 again here in Silverstone. What can Vapor Nuth do? Round the final corner for the Ferrari P4. 120. A massive improvement, not enough to get into the top 3, certainly enough for an impressive top 10 start in the British Grand Prix. But it is that man there, TRT James, to win in Silverstone. in Singapore, I should say, and takes pole for the British Grand Prix on round number 3 of season 6. It's James on pole for the British Grand Prix, just under 0.2 of a second ahead of Vapor Trench. The 2 racing points with Shea and third. Gets 4th for Ferrari, half a second. Cobalt in P5 for Williams, alongside his teammate Reese on the third of the grid. Vapor King P7, in 9th. Pazoka Joe 9th, and Jack Prentice round at the top 10 in the Alpha Tauri. Lord Lap P11, and Buttons back in 12th. Trixky 13th, Sam 14th. Elian P15, Brown 16th, Desinio and TDB did not set lap times. It's another horrible qualifying for Desinio. TDB disconnected from the session, and it'll be very, very interesting indeed to see whether those two can make their way up from the back of the grid to get a strong, potentially, podium finish in this race. With how this season has started, you just never know what's going to happen. 12 winning constructors here in Silverstone. I can tell you that the car that's on pole in the racing point of James has not won this Grand Prix before. And really, some of the household names in Formula 1 are on there. Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Lotus, McLaren, Williams, Renault, and of course more contemporary Mercedes and Red Bull have all stood on the top step here. The British Grand Prix, along with Cooper, Matra, and Tyrrell. 3 slightly older names in Formula 1. Benetton as well. Also one here, Benetton, of course. One of the nations, I guess, of Red, along with Lotus. As we prepare to get on the way here in Silverstone, James looking to become the 22nd from pole. And the British Grand Prix winners at this Grand Prix. The 50 races we've had here. Silverstone, of course, has swapped quite a lot with Aintree and Brown over the years as to the host of this Grand Prix, Brandsatch, which of course also once time hosted the European Grand Prix, and it joins circuits such as the Nürburgring, Valencia, and Azerbaijan as well to host the official European Grand Prix. Valencia, not one of the popular circuits in Formula 1 history, and was indeed dropped after just 5 races. 2012, of course, with Fernando Alonso's famous on home soil, actually, which led to a very emotional Spaniard on the podium, I remember. 8 years ago now, that was. In case any of you wanted to feel old, that was 8 years ago. I do, that's for sure. 127.3 is the lap record. That was Lewis Hamilton last year. And you would think that it would be a Mercedes-powered car setting something similar here, with TRT James and Vapor Shea starting towards the front of the grid. Will Vapor Trench pull it off in the McLaren? Will he spoil the Racing Points party? Can Nuth get there from P4 on the grid? Can happen. Ferrari's last win here was 2018 with Sebastian Vettel, started from second. From 2 at Nuth take the Grand Prix victory. It will be 2 in a row for James in the third round of a so far scintillating season of racing in the Formula PlayStation League. We are just ready to go in that's the rest of the cars get themselves up on the grid. Will it be 3 minutes from 3 rounds? James repeats success from pole. The British Grand Prix is underway. It's a start. Second place for Vapor Trent and get alongside James. No, he can't. The Racing cuts him off, going towards turn 1. They're still side by side. And meanwhile, Vapor Nuth is also wheel to wheel with Vapor Shea. Now down the inside goes Trent towards turn. It gets very tight indeed as Reese and Cobalt very, very close as well in the 2 Williams cars. And they're side by side through turn 5. Oh, it's a very, very good bit of racing between those two to keep the cars on the circuit. Reese ahead of Cobalt and Jack Prentice almost getting wheel to wheel with Fashion. And the 2 Williams cars are still going at it. And it's just brilliant stuff between these two. Reese on the inside. Brown goes very, very wide. Excuse me, King goes wide in the background in the Haas car. And there is King battling Fashion. And look at that as well. Lorna Lamb and Jack Prentice getting in there and trying to battle with him. Oh, King fantastically holds on to the position. Meanwhile, behind Lorna Lamb being attacked by Bazooka Joe and Jack Prentice 3-1 into Maggot's back in the channel. And somehow they all keep it together. Buttons back is in there as well, battling away with Bazooka Joe. Oh, and he spun round in the Mercedes. That was always going to end in tears for one of them, and it just had to be Buttons back, who's endured a torrid start to season 6. It gets even worse in Silverstone. Trixie and Elian look to have also been caught up in that mess as well. And Buttons back, who I think a bit of a bystander, was just trying to take advantage of some of the battling behind him, and sadly for him ended up in an accident as there is Trent behind the race leader James. Then Vapor Shea. Nuth manages to hold on to P4, wasn't quite able to get himself ahead of Shea. But what a start, what a first lap. James with a fantastic getaway to just about beat Trent's flying start in the McLaren. Rocketed away and now has the lead out front from McLaren of Trench. We'll see what Vapor Shea can do behind him, whether he can catch these 3 and add to this battle for the lead. And there are the 2 Williams cars, Reed just ahead of Cobalt, and behind is Jack Prentice having a look at the lamp. 3 turn 9 they go. Oh, and very wide. The Mercedes spins back onto the circuit. It's the worst possible start for these and down 6 passed as well by Tricky. And what a horrible open couple of laps. Silver arrows, Buttons back on Desinio spinning on lap 2. And can it get much worse? Sam's come into the pits, as has Elian. So already, a few drivers struggling with some incidents and some really, really close racing so far in the Grand Prix. Fashion in the race just in front of King, who gets very, very close in turn 3. Lorna Lamb behind them, still Nick Jack Prentice through turn 3. These two, of course, teammates last season at Alfa Romeo, both jumping into respect and Haas teams in towards turn 6. King as they get unable to get close enough for a pass. The runner Austin Sutton 3 laps into this run. As we did in Singapore. So we didn't see action in Singapore. We were missions, but we certainly did on the final of go. losing a bit of time through Magnus, Beckers and Chapel, just through the... Kobalt's on the grass in the Williams, just with the dirty air. I was going to say... Kobalt there suffering from... So if that's a word, as here comes Buttons back, passing Brown down the inside of Stowe. And can he also get the move done on Kobalt? Might be two positions in as many corners here for Buttons back. Indeed it is. Although they're still side by side. Kobalt giving this a very, very good go and staying ahead of Mercedes. Very good battle this between these two. Buttons back now with the runner towards turn one. Gets side by side. And gets ahead of Williams. Oh, and Kobalt hits him and loses part of his front wing. You can see he's actually knocked off quite a bit of that front wing. Is that going to affect his performance massively? I think it would. And that's back now up to P12, covering from his start. As that Vapor looks off. Those two. It's of Lord Alam. So that's the last for that Jack the P head of Aaron. Vapor now is making some serious noise, isn't he, on James. DRS is close. Straight is not quite going to be close enough in this corner. He's setting himself up nicely here. Is the McLaren driver for the lead of this Grand Prix on number. Meanwhile, Brown and Kobalt getting very close. Brown gets ahead to the AlphaTauri, passing the Williams. Kobalt really struggling now with that front wing, and Lord Alam has also come to the pit. It's been passed by TDB as well, and that is now caught for him to pit. Yeah, ordinarily you would maybe those efforts. You would expect the lead to try and make it work. I always say I am just a commentator, so I don't really know what the best thing is to do. And Fashion and Reese going side by side. Reese passed by Fashion, now being passed by Vapor King. Can King get around the turn 7? It's very tight through there. But if he can maybe cut back underneath, if he can have a run. But Reese done very well to keep that Williams in the right part of the track at the right time to stay ahead of him. Fashion now up to 5 behind Jack Prentice, now being passed by TDB down the inside of the turn 9. Up into 8. Happy for him. Did help. And taken by TDB, making a very impressive. Some of the expected from the session in qualifying. Shea and Luke still staying with this battle for the lead. Just over a second behind Shea last season. Certainly impressed us a lot in the FPSL. Out-qualified his teammate Sam 7 times. And he scored points in 9 of the 10 races. Got a podium. 3 podiums, I should say, in the process, and a pole position. Couldn't quite convert the pole into a victory, though, in France. In fact, sadly for him, didn't get any wins last season. Side by side for the lead, Trench and James. And James manages to hold the inside. Trench now going to try and cut back underneath him, but holds his line very well. Trench is still right there. Oh, and that gets very, very close to the barrier on the inside of turn 8, now in towards 9. Trench not able to get ahead of him just yet. James defending this position for his life here for the lead of the British Grand Prix. TDB's just gotten past Reese for 7th place now in silver. I wonder what could have been for him had he been able to set a qualifying lap. Trench now with DRS wide open isn't going to be close enough to the racing point. Nuth is actually just falling a little bit further away from Shea behind them in towards the Vale chicane. Matt a bit earlier on asked me, do I play this game? I do, but just very well. Very badly actually, but yeah, sometimes, yeah. Casually, bit of online stuff, but nowhere near on the level that these guys are racing on. There's a I'm going to say it again, there's a reason I'm the commentator. Right, Vapor Shea now has been introduced massively to this battle. Trench and James having so much side-by-side action has really allowed Shea to catch up, and it's very much a three-way dogfight now for P1. Falling further back behind them. Meanwhile, Vapor King is down the inside of Fashion into turn 6. These two former teammates going side by side, and Vapor King winning out on this occasion. 5th place for him, and now look at TDB all over the back of his teammate as well. TDB really is having a fantastic drive here as he continues to climb up the order. And he is side by side, and he is passed. So, very wide goes Fashion. I think really that was a bit of a synchronised swim between the two Renault cars. Fashion certainly didn't put up much of a fight against his teammate, knew he was quicker, and just playing the team game and letting his fellow Renault. Although here comes trying to come back at him now. Got DRS, and he's going to try and go round the start corner and gets back ahead. Oh, and contact between the two Renault cars as TDB chips a bit his front wing on the back of his teammate's car. And Fashion there. Well, was he too aggressive? Should TDB have backed out of it? A few questions there. There'll certainly be discussion between the two of them. TDB straight into the pits as a result. Reese is in as well in the Williams. Buttons back is going to climb up the order a little bit. He's going to gain those two positions as these two make their way into the pit lane. TDB stop will naturally take a little bit longer because he's having to change that front wing. He'll be fuming about that. Well, the Renault driver, as I say, I'm sure he'll probably have a couple of words to say to his teammate internally after this Grand Prix. And perhaps vice versa as well. As we rejoin this battle out front. James still leading the British Grand Prix, still just in front of Vapor Trent. Shea behind them and the racing point, and James is just trying to take as adequate a line as possible so as to avoid giving Trent any sort of slipstream. Going in towards Maggotts Beckett and Chapman. But I'll tell you what, here Trent is just a little bit closer this time to the racing point. Is he close enough? No, he's not. He's not quite going to be close enough to get ahead of the racing point. That's through Stowe and down the hill now towards the rail chicane they go. The front three still as you were after qualifying. Front four, I should say, still as you were after qualifying. Not for very much longer though, because into the pits comes the current world champion Vapor Nuth. Now, currently on the soft tyre. Everyone who's pitted so far has gone on to the mediums, apart from Cobalt, who's trying something different with strategy now, having made that mistake early doors. And he is on the white wall tyre to try and go as long into this race as possible. Mediums on for Nuth as well. And Fashion is also into the pits for Renault, as he puts on a fresh set of the medium compound tyres too. Yellow tyres for the yellow car, and he heads towards the pit exit. Reese in the Williams, there he is, just going around the final corner now, and is he going to rejoin ahead of Fashion here is the question. I think Fashion will just be ahead. Yes, he will. Fashion rejoins, and there is Reese down in P13 now. We've still got James, Trench, Shea, Jack, Bazooka Joe, I should say, Buttons back, and Trixky, and Desenio and Brown all left to pit. I could have saved myself a lot of time there and just said the top 10 have all yet to pit. But anyway, Vapor Nuth is 5 seconds behind Brown, who, yeah, as I say, is yet to come into the pits yet. Brilliant. He's yet to stop in this Grand Prix, 9 laps in, but here is the first bit of action amongst the top 3 in terms of pit stops. Vapor Trench and Vapor Shea have come into the pits. That's interesting. Vapor Shea priority there over his teammate in terms of getting the first pit stop, so he gets the undercut. Undercut probably isn't quite as powerful here as you would sometimes expect at some other circuits, and Vapor Trench comes out of the pits, and Vapor Shea follows him out of his pit box. That promotes King to P2. Jack Prentice is 3rd. Bazooka Joe now 4th. Buttons back is in P5. There is Desenio rejoining now. He's getting himself up into P7. And Vapor Trench is going to rejoin in 9th place, just ahead of Vapor Shea. And 2 seconds behind the AlphaTauri of Brown. They've both rejoined ahead of Vapor Nuth. It was actually closed the gap quite a lot. So I talked about the undercut maybe not being quite so powerful. Maybe it is actually, after all, pretty powerful, because Vapor Nuth has gained a good second there on Trench and Shea by going for the undercut. There is James. Will surely be responding to those pit stops behind him, and will make his way into the pits at the end of this lap. Lap number 10 of 26. You would think that the mediums can go quite a bit longer, although James stays out. So his reaction to the pit stops behind is that, well, they've got the undercut now, so he's going to go for something different in that car. That is very interesting indeed. As you can see on the right hand side of the screen, the pit window is open. James is going to extend that window for as long as he possibly can. Jack Prentice is into the pits, as is Bazooka Joe. Trixky in the Red Bull is going to climb a couple of positions as a result and get himself up into 4th place in this British Grand Prix. There's Joe in the Alfa Romeo, following in the Alfa Tauri. As Jack pulls his car into the pits, and Bazooka Joe in there as well. Medium tyres on for both of those cars. And away goes Bazooka Joe, following Jack Prentice out of the pits. P10 and P11 for those two at the moment. Thatcher, though, climbs ahead of them in the Renault. As in towards turn 1 he goes, just ahead of Reese. So Reese getting himself ahead of Jack Prentice and Bazooka Joe. TDB, after the contact with his teammate earlier on, is in 12th position. So that brilliant progress that he made the early part of this Grand Prix has to be replicated now. Although still got the likes of Vapor King, Buttons back, Trixky, Decinio still to pit, Brown as well, still out there on the same set of mediums that he started the Grand Prix on. Of course, everybody who started outside the top 10 would have had free tyre choice for the Grand Prix. Right, James is now in, so well, he kind of got caught in between two strategies there, so he didn't respond directly to the pit stops behind him. He's waited another couple of... I wonder if that's the best call. I think after he'd made the decision to stay out, I was rather thinking that he was just going to commit to that and go even longer into the Grand Prix, but he's not done that. He's on the medium tyres. Where's this going to put him? And more importantly, is he going to be ahead of Vapor Trench, who's just coming around the final couple of corners now? And actually, yeah, I think Trench will be ahead as he comes in towards the pit exit. Oh, it will be tight, you know. In towards turn 1 goes Vapor Trench. Oh, just behind James, who gets himself out. And that's perfectly timed. Brilliant pit stop from the Racing Point crew. Meanwhile, behind them, Vapor Shea is just caught up to the back of Brown. And at the minute, he's just a little bit stuck behind the AlphaTauri driver. We'll have to do here. He's got DRS, though. He's side by side with him down the Wellington Straight, and gets the move done into Brooklands, and now can set after Vapor Trench and James. Vapor King and Decinio still out there. King in P1, Decinio 16 seconds behind him. Having made the mistake earlier on, Decinio deciding to extend this stint for as long as he can. Of course, he's on the mediums anyway. But we'll see where he'll end up. His teammate Buttons back is in the P15 after the open exchanges, so it's looking like another frustrating result for Buttons back in this Grand Prix. Decinio's outraced Buttons back in both of the races we've had, and as it stands, looks set to do so again here, but we'll see what transpires between now and Prix. Vapor Nuth chasing after Brown, and if Nuth wants to be in the top 3 conversation, then he's got to get this move done pretty quickly as well in the AlphaTauri, given the fact that he's already been losing quite a bit of time for the top 3 over the course of this Grand Prix anyway. Up towards turn 1, Vapor Shade's has gone very, very wide, by the way, out of Club Corner, and he has relinquished 3 seconds as a result. As we go on board with Nuth and in towards the loop of turns 4 and 5, has to really control the wheel spin on the exit of 4. Opens up the DRS through turn 5. And Brown ahead of him hasn't got DRS. Nuth, of course, does, but isn't close enough going into turn 6 to get the move done. Sam's come into the pits in the Alfa Romeo, down in P17 for him as Nuth locked up. Elian P18. Elian was one of the ones caught up in the lap 1 incident. And here comes Nuth now side by side with Brown through turn 8. They're down towards Cops, but yeah, he gets himself in front. The AlphaTauri before they have to worry about turning into the corner. And that is the Ferrari up into P5. Vapor King's coming to the pits, P8 for him. In the Haas, Decinio still out there in the Mercedes. Now, how much longer can Decinio go on for on this set of medium tyres, I wonder. And when he does pit, where will he be? When he stays out for another lap, he's going to tour the circuit again. As Lord of Lamb, Buttons Back and Trixie all pick up the same penalty at the same time. Buttons Back and Trixie on the same part of the circuit. There they are, P14 and P15. So, yeah, really frustrating start to the season as Buttons Back, Jack Prentice gets ahead of Lord of Lamb into P11. Oh, the McLaren sticks his nose in and very nearly causes a collision, but Jack Prentice is able to stay ahead of the McLaren for the time being. Frustrating start both for Trixie and for Buttons Back. Buttons Back, of course, with Nefs to start the season, as with Trixie in the Red Bull. His Trixie's teammate Kasu has scored points in the first two Grand Prix of the season. Kasu not with us, unfortunately, this evening. But Singapore last time, a brilliant try from him. P18 to P2 last Tuesday night. Lord of Lamb now is being pursued by Bazooka Joe. The Alfa Romeo looking to get up to the McLaren. First of all, he needs Jack Prentice to escape from the McLaren. So Decinio has been passed for the lead. This isn't a pit stop. It's James going ahead of him in towards Stowe Corner. Now, James is hoping here that Decinio can just hold up with those tyres and how they are and how little grip there'll be left in. I very much doubt that Decinio will be able to do much to put up a fight against the McLaren behind him. But we'll see what will happen. In towards Village. Now the loop of turns 4 and 5 goes Trench. Good exit. Through turn 5 he comes. And is this going to be enough to get ahead of the Mercedes? Want to see. Has DRS as well on James, which is going to work out pretty well for the Racing Point driver because Decinio stays ahead of Trench for now. And this is really now playing into James's hands going into the final 12 laps. Or the final 11 laps. 11 and a half, shall we say, of the British Grand Prix. Behind them, Fashion is just ahead of his teammate TDB, so these have come to blows once already in the British Grand Prix. What's going to happen this time? Well, TDB getting very, very close in towards Top's corner. Doesn't quite go for the inside this time. And will be wary of his teammate, and Fashion loses the back end of the Cops, but manages to stay ahead going into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. But a matter of time here before his teammate traverses him and can then set after Vapor King in this Grand Prix. TDB with DRS on Fashion. Not going to be close enough, I don't think. And Decinio has come into the pits and he's got a penalty for in the plane. That's a real disaster for him. And Lord of Lamb has just lost a couple of places because he's gone off in the McLaren on the grass. And is now down in P16. So he was running pretty well. He was running close to the points. But a mistake there has put him down into 16th. Oh, and he spins again into Stowe. Oh, it's a real nightmare this for Lord of Lamb. And Decinio in the Mercedes now coming out of the pits. And but he's gone that long in order to put himself on tyres. The part of the Grand Prix. 5 seconds to make up. To catch up to Trixie in front of him, as TDB does now get past his teammate Fashion, this time I can tell you without any dramas. And the switch has taken place cleanly this time between the two Renault drivers. Vapor King next for TDB, 1.5 seconds to make up to catch the Haas driver in P6. Brown still holding on to 5th place in the Alpha Tauri, but of course he hasn't made a pit stop yet. That's why he's up there, but he will undoubtedly do what Decinio's done and soft tyres for the latter part of the Grand Prix and see how much progress he can make. As a result of that, has ended up behind his teammate Buttons Back. Over 2 seconds behind him, but with the tyres and of course the tyres as well. he should be able to make up that time pretty quickly and set after Trixie. Jack Prentice at the minute still rounding out the top 10, but for how much longer? Because he's side by side with Bazooka Joe at the exit Stowe corner, and Jack Prentice now taking the defensive line going into the Vale chicane. Bazooka Joe has to back out of it for now. They've got Trixie right behind them in the Red Bull, looking to score his first points of the season. And Joe exits club corner and gets closer and closer to Jack Prentice. Trixie getting closer to both of them as well, as through turn 2 in towards Village at turn 3, and Joe goes a little bit wide, and Trixie looks to stick his nose in. Oh, and Joe goes for the late move down the inside of Jack Prentice. It'd be brilliant if he can make it work, but he can't. Has to stay behind for now, but once again, Jack hold on to that position for, because here comes Joe trying to go around the outside of Brooklands, but Jack Prentice manages to hold that car on the inside and live to fight another day. It's about holding on to that final points paying position. But sure, cars down. He won't be able to hold on to it for an awful lot longer. Out front, here comes Trench. Very, very close indeed to James for the lead of this Grand Prix. But nothing doing just yet as they go through Stowe. Bazooka Joe again right behind. Jack Prentice is going to have DRS now down the hangar straight. Watch out for Trixie also in the Red Bull. These two are both going to be looking very racy, and now here comes Joe with the slipstream. And is this going to be 10th place for him? Is Jack Prentice finally going to have to let go of it? No, he's not. Oh, yes, he is, because round the outside goes Joe. That's an exceptional move. That's an absolutely brilliant pass. Round the outside of Stowe corner. Didn't look as though the move was on, but it made it happen brilliantly. And up now into the points goes Bazooka Joe after an exceptional overtake on Jack Prentice. Those two now, of course, both back in the points, because Brown in the Haas and the Alfa Romeo, I should say, has come into the pits and is out now in 14th position. Although, Jack Prentice goes back down the inside of Joe and is back up into 9th place, and Trixie as well takes full advantage of that and gets ahead of Bazooka Joe. Now can he pass Jack Prentice, who goes defensive into Brooklands? Isn't quite able to get ahead of him just yet. Desinio has managed to get past his teammate Buttons back by virtue of his teammate pitting, and is now running and is the favourite to overtake this lot into points. Meanwhile, up front we've got to move for the lead. Vapor Trench manages to get past James, and Virtual Safety Car is deployed just as he does so. But right there, a change of leadership in this Grand Prix. James has held onto it brilliantly from lap 1, but Vapor Trench at Stowe corner at the end of the hangar straight takes the lead in Silverstone. And a racing point knocked off their perch on the 19th lap of this British Grand Prix, and is Trench now going to go on to become the 3rd winner from 3 different races to start season 6. What an epic beginning to the season it's been. And it's Trench under this virtual safety car who leads the British Grand Prix. Board there with Trixie as he looks to get Prentice behind them. The senior ahead of Bazooka Joe, so that's P11 now for Mercedes driver. And Fashion and Vapor King have been going side by side. Fashion getting ahead of the Haas driver. P6 for Fashion, P7 now for Vapor King. As we rejoin this battle, Trixie knows that he has to get ahead of Jack Prentice as soon as possible, otherwise he's going to fall into the clutches of Desinio. As in towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel they go. Desinio behind them, looking racy as well on his fresh set of soft tyres. He's got DRS on both of them, and surely now Desinio's going to have at least one position. Trixie in front of him, looking to pass Jack Prentice. Around the outside goes Trixie. Jack Prentice doesn't want to get done here again. Wide goes Trixie, and surely that's the chance for Desinio. And up into the points now for the Mercedes driver. Next up is Jack Prentice for 9th place. And what a fantastic recovery this has been. Into the pits now comes Vapor King to give that lot another position. And the Haas driver and goes on to a set of tyres for the last 7 laps of the British Grand Prix. Now outside the points, and it's a very slow stop as well because I believe there was a front wing change on the car, which has really ruined his chances, you would think, of winning this Grand Prix. On board James. We take the lead as Trench got too much pace. Trench self further up the further away from the racing point, as now massive impact there for Zoka, Jack Prentice, Tree, all making contact, all of them spinning out. A huge incident there. The senior and Bazooka Joe collecting Jack Prentice and Trixie, and the safety car is deployed. What a huge moment in this Grand Prix. Jack Prentice has lost his front wing. Desenio has a penalty as a result. Bazooka Joe getting involved, and Trixie has, he's lost his front wing as well. A huge impact between those 4 drivers. Bazooka Joe spinning off the back of Desenio's car, and those two then collecting Jack Prentice and Trixie, and all came to blows on the exit of turn 7. And what a huge incident that was in the British Grand Prix. And the safety car's come out at the wrong time, really, hasn't it, for Trench and James and Shea, because they'd already gone past the pits when the safety car was deployed. It has allowed Vapor Nuth to come into the pits for Ferrari and put on a fresh set of tyres. This is interesting. So, when the top 4 now make their pit stops, are they going to be far enough ahead of the likes of Nuth to stay ahead? As into the pits has come Reese and Cobalt, and Bazooka Joe in as well now to repair his front wing. Jack Prentice needing a new front wing as well in the Alpha Tauri. The seniors just come back out in the Mercedes. This is it's really brought Lorna Lamb back into contention as well in the McLaren. Elliott and Buttons back will hopefully catch the safety car queue, but they're on fresh soft tyres as well, as Sam gets a change of tyres onto the Red Bull soft tyre for him, and away he goes. So everybody now getting onto fresh tyres, and everybody's on fresh softs apart from the top 4. Vapor Trench, James, Shea and TDB, who has made this exceptional recovery up from the back. We'll be hoping here that he's got the gap. Well, he hasn't, basically. None of them do. There is 6 seconds back to Nuth, and actually TDB has joined Trench and Shea in staying out. So he's realised there that if he pits, he's not got track position to stay ahead of Nuth. But James is in the racing point. He's going to lose track position to Vapor Nuth, but he's already lost the lead of the Grand Prix, so it's almost like he may as well go for it. However, he's going to be outside the points here. And actually, he's out of the race. He's retired from the Grand Prix. So, that is a real shame. He started from pole position. He lost the lead to Trench. He's now come into the pits under the safety car and has retired from the race. He might have still been inside the points, actually. He would have been, I think. Oh, that is a nightmare for TRT James, and he will not be winning this Grand Prix. And it will either be Trench or Shea or TDB. Remarkably, actually, all of them have... in fact, no, they didn't pit. They didn't pit. So, they're all ahead of Nuth. But, is this a chance now for Nuth? It has to be, because he's on the freshest set of tyres. He's on fresh softs compared to an 11 to 13 lap old mediums on the cars in front. Surely here, this is prime position for Nuth to go on and win this Grand Prix, although 4 laps to go after this one. Oh, that's going to be... this is going to be a good end to the Grand Prix. Who's going to win it? Let me know in the comments who's going to win this Grand Prix from here, because this will be an extraordinary end by the looks of it. It's been a fantastic watch so far, and hopefully it'll be an interestingly emphatic finish to the British Grand Prix. A circuit that was first used by an ad hoc group set up a race in 1947. Maurice Geerhegen lived in the village, and he knew that the airfield was disused. So he got 11 friends and raced on the track. Geerhegen actually then ran over a sheep. And that's why that Grand Prix in 47 was actually then known as the Mutton Grand Prix. Which I found pretty funny whilst doing my research. I don't know if any of you do, but that's just quite a good bit of information, really, isn't it? The Royal Automobile Club, or the RAC, then took ownership of the circuit. Wilfred Andrews was the leader of that particular project. Because there wasn't any possibility of having a race in the Isle of Man at the time, he decided that racing here at Silverstone was the best option. And eventually the first British Grand Prix non-championship event took place in 1948, which was actually on the 2nd of October. Imagine how cold that would have been. It's freezing now in the UK. And it actually started with Abbey as the final corner. It was a straight left-hander, and it went all the way to about here. So this corner here, turn 7, was actually turn 1 at the very start of the journey in Formula 1. This was turn 1 here, and then Maggots, Beckett and Chapel was actually just one left-hander, one right-hander, and then another left-hander, which is why the left, right, and the left are all, they don't all have different names. It's just the left, right. The first left, right is Beckett's. The second left, right is the first left, right is Maggots. The second left, right is Beckett's, and then the third left is Chapel. So this circuit has definitely undergone some changes since it was changed again with the new pit complex in 2010. Ferrari Power has won this Grand Prix twice. It was in Ferrari cars, Fernando Alonso in 2011, Sebastian Vettel in 2018, and surely here, this is a chance for the Ferrari of Nuth to go on and take a victory in round number 3. Either way, it looks very much as though we're going to have a third winner from 3 races. Desinio in the Mercedes, now down in P12. Doesn't look as though he's going to be winning the Grand Prix, but of course may well take points in this race. His tyre advantage just slipped away because of the safety car, and Trench here needs a good restart to escape from Shea and TDB and stake his claim to the win. If he gets a good restart, I have to worry about Vapor Nuth in the Ferrari behind him as we go on board with Shea. Vapor Trench has gone for it. It's a very good restart for the McLaren driver. Shea has rather left TDB behind, and he's just ahead of the Ferrari of Nuth. It's a pretty good restart from Nuth. Fashion just behind him in the other Renault. Then Brown in P6, Reese P7, King in 8th, Kobalt 9th, and Trixky running at the top 10 at the moment in the Red Bull. Getting a little bit caught on the curb, slightly wide in front of him to the turn 4. Very, very close indeed to TDB, and Vapor King's just gotten ahead of Brown in the background. And here comes Nuth, and this is surely a chance. Actually there, Nuth was close to being passed by Fashion than he was to getting past TDB. Fashion locking up. Oh, and Nuth going wide, and then Fashion, and then contact, and round goes the Renault. Fashion spinning off the circuit at turn 7. He went for the move down the inside of Nuth. He's retired from the Grand Prix, the 3rd retirement here in Silverstone. Buttons back is out of the race as well. Oh, what a nightmare that was for Fashion. He was looking for a really, really strong points finish here in Silverstone. But that contact with Vapor Nuth has denied him such a chance. And that is him out of the British Grand Prix. Trench still in, Shea still in 2nd place. TDB in 3rd. Vapor Nuth still having to settle for P4 in the Ferrari. Hasn't quite made the restart that I think he would have been hoping for. But the top 3 have all done very, very well indeed to stay where they are. Vapor King still up in P5. Reese to P7, who is only just in front of his teammate coach. Racing very, very hard on lap. Racing very hard on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. As Trix well just in the red. Over getting very, very close to Reese. For Desinio to get ahead of the Alfa Romeo car. Not quite just yet. Prentice as well. And here comes Cobalt. He's got the run now on Reese. No, it doesn't. Turn 6 gets ahead of his teammate. And then it's P7 now for Cobalt. Reese coming back at him and going round the outside of turn 7. Cobalt now back down the inside. They're still side by side on the exit. Brilliant bit of racing. And now Trix behind them, and the Red Bull is surely going to make his way past Reese. Down towards turn 9. The senior Bazooka Joe going side by side behind them. And that's very nearly contact once again between those two. Now right behind Reese, making contact with the Williams in front, going into Maggots. And spinning is Lord Alam. Lord Alam in the McLaren has spun out. He's made contact with Jack Prentice. McLaren driver, who's already had one spin in this Grand Prix, has another one now. That pushes him further down the order as Dino does now get ahead of Reese. But they're still side by side. Look at Jones trying to get round the outside now. Reese, can he do it? It's very, very tight, and Reese stays ahead as Jack Prentice now looks to take advantage, trying to get round the outside, and they're now getting very close. Bazooka Joe gets ahead of Reese, and Jack Prentice gets ahead of Reese as well. And Reese now down to P12, and here comes Sam, launching one down the inside of Reese, and getting ahead, and that's down to P13 for the Williams of Reese. Sam, who's been silent so far this Grand Prix, making a late lunge for P12. Is it going to be a lunge that gets him closer to a points finish in this British Grand Prix? That remains to be seen. Here comes King, and I was talking about News getting up to the top 3. He's actually now in massive danger of being passed by King. King in the Haas, who is in need of a strong points finish. One DNF and one finish outside the top 10 so far to start the season. Really needs a strong result here to try and rectify those misfortunes. Trench, by the way, is on the final lap here in Silverstone as he comes into Stowe corner. And Shea just behind him with TDB hanging on to the podium just about. But look how close that is between him and Nuth. Vapor Trench, a brilliant drive, took the lead late on in the race, and he wins the British Grand Prix. Vapor Shea second, but TDB, because of penalties, wins the Grand Prix. Where's that come from? Vapor Trench and Shea with penalties, and that all means that TDB, who finished the race in 3rd and started the Grand Prix right the way down in 18th place, wins in Silverstone. What is it with drivers starting in 18th position? The senior winning second from 18th in Singapore, and TDB started 18th in Silverstone. And by virtue of penalties to Trench and to Shea, TDB for Renault wins the British Grand Prix. What a finish in Silverstone. Well, the absolute joys and drama of a late safety car come through yet again. TDB, P1 for Renault. Vapor Trench, 2nd place for McLaren. Shea in 3rd to round up the podium. Heart-wrenching that for Trench, who thought he'd won his first race of the season. Vapor Nuth in P4 for Ferrari, holding off Vapor King in the Haas. Jack Prentice, P6 for AlphaTauri. 7th was Sam in the Alfa Romeo. Bazooka Joe in 8th place. Reese, P9 for Williams, but due to penalties, Cobalt in P10. Trixky didn't score points again in Season 6. The senior down in P12 for Mercedes, what could have been for him. Brown P13 for AlphaTauri. Elian 14th. Lord Alam in 15th place. And Fashion, James and Buttonsback all out of the British Grand Prix. Well, a race really defined by incident between Desinio, Bazooka Joe, Jack Prentice and Trixky. That incident brought out the safety car. The safety car completely changed the complexion of the British Grand Prix. A British Grand Prix which TDB from 18th on the grid won. What a race. What a night. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the FPSL YouTube channel. And until next Tuesday night, I'll see you next time.